Today we're diving into something pretty wild, a spiritual framework that tries to create a complete map of, well, everything. We're talking about a hierarchy that covers all of existence, from the highest divine being all the way down to the most basic building blocks of nature.
You know, it's a question we all ask ourselves at some point. Where do we fit in? In the whole grand cosmic scheme of things, where do humans actually stand? Well, the text we're digging into today gives a very specific, very structured answer to that exact question.
And that answer is all built around one number, 16. The idea is that there's a 16-level hierarchy of all life. And when I say all life, I mean it. This system gives a spot to everything, from gods and angels to people, animals, and even blades of grass.
So, what's the logic behind it all? How is everything ranked? Well, it all comes down to something the text calls spiritual essence. You can think of it as a measure of a being's consciousness or complexity. The more you have, the higher you are on the ladder. And that leads to the most important principle here. The higher the level, the greater the freedom. That's the real prize in this system.
Okay, so with a huge 16-level pyramid, we need a place to start, an anchor point to make sense of it all. And logically, the best place to begin is with us. In this system, humanity is placed right at level 5.
So what is a human according to this framework? The definition is actually pretty humbling. We're described as animals, living on Earth, completely dependent on our 5 senses and physical food to get by. And, importantly, in our basic state, we have 0 supernatural abilities. We are, essentially, the baseline.
But even here, on our own level, there's a whole ladder to climb. The text breaks down humanity into 5 types. It shows a clear path, from someone who lives just on pure animal instinct, all the way up to someone who lives by a higher spiritual awareness. It's like a roadmap for our own evolution, all within level 5.
All right, so we've got our feet planted firmly on level 5. Now it's time to start climbing. We're going to look at the levels above humanity, and let me tell you, this is where things start to get really mind-bending.
So we jump past level 4 and land on level 3, which is fascinating because it's home to 2 different kinds of beings, immortals and Buddhas. The text sees them as equals, on the same spiritual level, just different in their fundamental nature, or what it calls their race.
And the kind of power we're talking about at these levels is just staggering. I mean, look at the celestial immortals. They are literally unbound by space and time. They can sense the entire universe at once, and they can appear in thousands of different forms. The divine immortal is a step down, but they can still ride on clouds, turn invisible, and just wander wherever they please.
And here you can see the whole spectrum of immortals. It starts at the bottom with the ghost immortal, which is basically a consciousness that's stuck on Earth. Then you move up through the human, terrestrial, and divine immortals, all the way to the top, the celestial immortal, who lives in a realm of ultimate bliss. Every single step up means more freedom.
I absolutely love this line from the text. It says, a divine immortal can come and go as they please, like a celestial horse galloping across the sky. It just paints such a powerful picture of the kind of absolute, effortless freedom that defines this level of being.
And what about the Buddhas, their counterparts on level 3? Well, they have their own internal ladder, a 10-level path that takes them from the Lotus continent all the way to the continent of supreme enlightenment. But here's the really important part for us. The text says that when a human becomes truly enlightened, their life on Earth is over, and they instantly ascend to start this journey in the Buddha realms.
Okay, we are getting so close to the top now. At level 2, we find beings that are called gods. But here's a twist. In this system, even gods are not perfect. Their spiritual structure is described as having flaws. And while they're incredibly powerful, it's that imperfection that keeps them from reaching the final, highest level.
And here we are, the absolute peak, level 1. This isn't just a god, this is God, a being described as having a perfect, flawless spiritual structure. Its energy flows through everything, all matter, all space, without any obstacle at all. The source of everything in this entire system.
So we've been all the way to the heavens. But what about the world right here around us? Let's shift our focus and look down from our spot at level 5 to see how the natural world fits into this incredible hierarchy. Just one step below us at level 6, you find the birds. And yep, just like with people, there's a whole detailed ranking here too. The crane is considered the peak, supposedly because of its high spiritual essence, its grace and long life. From there, it goes down through storks and evils, all the way to the bottom with chickens and ostriches.
And it's the exact same story for plants at level 7.
In the flower kingdom, the peony is number 1. Then you've got high-grade flowers like the lotus, and it goes all the way down to simpler things like reed flowers. And get this, the text says their whole reason for being is to act as a physical reminder for us humans of the beauty that exists in those higher spiritual worlds.
And the methodical ranking just keeps on going, right down the great chain of being. After flowers, you've got domestic animals at level 8, then wild animals at 9, then trees, insects, and finally, grasses at level 12. The level of detail is just incredible. Every form of life has its own specific place in this grand cosmic order.
We've covered the plants and animals that we see every day, but this hierarchy goes even deeper. Now we're going to head to the very bottom and explore the unseen foundations of existence itself.
So, the last few rungs of the ladder are pretty fundamental. At level 14, we find beings the text calls hell beings, but below even them, at the very, very bottom, we find the most basic and constrained forms of life you can imagine. Beings that exist in a frozen layer and a fire layer at the absolute base of all reality.
So, after that journey all the way from the pinnacle of creation down to its fiery foundations, what's the big takeaway? Well, according to this text, the whole point of this grand design is that it gives us a very clear path to follow.
This one quote really pulls the whole philosophy together. It makes it obvious that this isn't about power or status. The goal, the entire reward for climbing this ladder, is more freedom and a fundamentally higher quality of life.
And this right here, this is the path forward specifically for us. It's a clear progression from being a mundane person to ordinary, then virtuous, and finally a spiritual person. But that's not the end of the line. It's the launch pad, the starting point for potentially ascending beyond the human level entirely, maybe becoming an immortal and reaching for those higher realms.
So this framework doesn't present this as some fixed destiny. It's a ladder of potential that's just waiting. It leaves us with a very personal question. The path is laid out. The way is clear. The only thing left to ask is, which way are you headed?